Spring is in the air and it's time for Dollar Tree Spring DIYs. So let's go on in and get started. So on a recent shopping trip at Dollar Tree, I found the bunny wreath frames were out and I was super excited because I really love to craft with these. So for this first project, we're going to make a bunny wreath using some roses from the Dollar Tree. I picked up 3 different colors of roses that are all pretty close to the same color. They're just a little bit different shades, lighter and darker. And so I'm going to go ahead and fill in this wreath form with all the different colors. It ends up being like 1 color per section of this wreath. So I'm adding hot glue to the back and I'm going to put it into the little opening of the wreath frame. Now I definitely recommend having some kind of plate or something underneath as you glue around here. It got pretty messy on my plate and you wouldn't want any of that excess glue to go onto your table or surface that you're using as you're crafting. So once I add them all in, I'm going to go back around with some more roses and I'm going to fill in any spots. You could also use the leaves here if you wanted to do that instead of more roses. I had several leaves left over because I only used the rosebud parts. So if you wanted to do that instead, that would look super cute as well. Once I get all the roses filled in and I don't find any more extra spots, then I'm ready to kind of add a little bit of embellishment. So I'm going to add some yarn up at the top for the ears. This is the Chanel yarn from Dollar Tree, but any yarn will do here. The yarn I find from Dollar Tree is pretty thin, and so this was a tad bit time consuming because we're going to wrap it all around the ear. So I just tied the first part on with a knot, but then I found it like moving around. So instead I decided to add a little bit of hot glue at the bottom. I didn't want really any like hot glue to be showing. So I didn't put hot glue, tons of hot glue on here. I just wrapped it really tight and then I made sure to put glue in various parts. Once I have the ears all covered with my yarn, I made a quick shabby bow with just some pink ribbon I had. This was in my stash because it kind of matched the roses. Any ribbon will do, and then obviously customize it to the color of your roses if you're not using pink. I just went ahead and hot glued this to the bottom of one of our ears. Then I decided to add a rose in the middle because I just felt like the bow was missing something. You wouldn't have to add anything here. And of course, I love buttons. A button might look cute here too. But I just went ahead and added a rose there. And then that is it for this super sweet project. Let me know what you guys think about this one.
You can't turn the tide. Let the water go where it wants.
So it's been a while since I did one of the open invite challenges and I decided to participate in the Hello Spring open invite challenge that's going on right now. It is put on by the Rusted Willow and DIY from House to Home, and their guest host this month is Shannon Crafty DIYs. Definitely go down to my description box and check out the links to these channels along with the link to the playlist, and you will get all kinds of spring inspiration when you're done watching this video. So this is an older project that I made in the past, but I decided to include it in this video because it's the bunny wreath frame, and this happens to be one of my most favorite projects I've ever made. So we're going to take some pieces of fabric. Now mine actually are an old sheet, but you can use any fabric here. You could use a drop cloth as well if you want to pick up something like that instead of having anything on hand. But I just cut it into strips and then I cut it. They're about 2 inches wide, and so on the wreath form here, I'm going to go in and out. So for one, I'm going to do the 2 outer rings of the wreath, and then for the next piece of fabric and knot, we're going to do the 2 inner rings. And I just go back and forth with those all the way around the circle part. For the ears, all I did was tie it on just in a loose knot and went all around the ears. This becomes a really large wreath after you get all the pieces of fabric on, but it is super cute and adorable. So once I get that all on, I have this ribbon. It came from Hobby Lobby, I believe, and I'm just going to to make a quick bow. We're going to fan it out. I just used some twine and tied that in the middle, and then we're going to add that to our wreath. I absolutely love this ribbon. It definitely has a lot of shabby chic vibes to it. I don't know. I love the roses. And then we're just going to hot glue here at the top, and then here it is styled for you guys. This again is one of my favorite projects. Let me know what you think about this one.
Bury yourself beneath the stones. Somebody told me don't pretend, 'cause everyone could use a friend sometimes. Take some good.
So for this wreath, we're going to be using those duster mop pads from the Dollar Tree. I know this isn't a new concept. I get comments every once in a while on my videos like, oh, other people have made these. I don't do anything with my crafts. I keep them or I give them away to other people. And so a lot of times when I make stuff, it's because I've never made it before or I want to give it to somebody. And in this case, I've never made one of these duster mop Easter wreaths. So I thought I would go ahead and give it a try. But you're going to take, I believe I end up using about 4 of these duster mops. So I'm just going to wrap it around the circular part of one side, and then we're going to start at the bottom and we're going to do the same thing. We're wrapping and gluing. I'm just using hot glue here. I tried to kind of overlap too because you'll see down at the bottom there's kind of a space. So you want to make sure that you overlap on like when you have the seams going together, that way you can't tell. Now, if you've never used these duster mops for anything, they are super messy anytime that you have to cut them. So these two are not messy because we kept them intact as one piece of duster mop, but we're about to get messy here in this wreath part. So we're going to go ahead and take this one. We're going to cut about 3/4 of it. I wanted to go here at the top of our circle, and obviously our ears are right here, so we don't want to wrap it just around that part. What we're going to do is we're going to cut a hole down like the middle of it, and we're going to wrap it around each side of the ear and down, kind of like a flip-flop. If it was going on your like on your feet, that would be like your toe portion. So we're just going to like thread it through the top part of our ears and then fold down and glue. Then you're going to want to make sure that you glue on the sides there as well. That way it's not totally noticeable that you have a seam there. Now, when you go to hang this one, I definitely recommend like checking both sides because you want the one that doesn't have like is not as noticeable for the seams, if that makes sense. So for the top part of our ears, we're going to cut this duster mop into thirds. I clearly need new scissors here, so I paused the video, throw those scissors away, and get out my trusty Pioneer Woman scissors. So we're just going to cut it in thirds, and then we're going to fold over. I do this section, and then I fold over the top too, just as I go around, and then I just keep adding pieces of the duster mop. Now be careful here because it gets thinner once you like lose some of the stuffing of the duster mop, and so you don't want to burn yourself here. If anything, I have burnt myself so much this year, so just be careful, and especially if you have a super hot glue gun. So we're going to thread our duster mop in between our ears, and then we're going to go ahead and glue and wrap again. This is super simple, so if you're new to crafting or you might be intimidated by wreaths, this is definitely one to try because it's super easy. Did you see my glue gun? There's like so much fuzzies. And then I wore these fuzzies like the rest of the night. So I'm going to go ahead and make a shabby bow. I'm using some pink ribbon and this really fun pink and white striped ribbon. Now the solid pink ribbon is a wired ribbon. My pink and white ribbon is not. So it actually works out really well because the wired ribbon helps the other ribbon kind of stay together. Now, for my shabby bows, I always use a piece of the fabric or ribbon to tie it off. That way it becomes part of the bow, and I really like the final look of that. I don't decide to cut them as dovetails at first, but then I do go back and dovetail them because there was some weird stain on my pink and white ribbon that was totally noticeable, and I didn't like that. So I just dovetailed them and off it went. So if you ever have that problem, just cut it off. So I play around with the bow here a little bit, and this is where I kind of get distracted because it's ugly. And then I decide I can't just cut one piece. So I go ahead and pause the video here in a second and then cut all the dovetails. And then as I'm doing that, guys, I decide, you know what? I actually think it looks better on the bottom, so it was a happy accident here, made me not glue my bow up at my ear. So I glue it down at the very bottom, and I absolutely think this turned out adorable down at the bottom. Let me know what you think about this one. You definitely need like a little vacuum when you're done with this project. So for this project, I decided to remove the inner piece of the frame. My frame was damaged, it was already broken in one of the sections, and it was really warped. So double check when you're getting the frames that you have one that is well made and that you can craft with, because I just felt like there wasn't a whole lot that I could do with this wreath frame as the shape it was in. So I go ahead and use my wire cutters and cut off a section of the bunny circle. I'm using one of these pre-made garlands from the Dollar Tree. I like to craft with these. Normally I just keep them as a garland, but we're going to remove the beads and we're going to be adding them to the circle part of our wreath frame. I've never made one of these beaded wreaths before, and I thought it would be cute to make it as a bunny. Now, normally when I use these pre-made bead garlands, I like to dry brush them with some white paint. It mutes the colors that they have in the beads. I didn't do that this time. I was just thinking it would be fun to have the bright colors, but the ribbon I end up adding needs those to be muted. So I think I'm going to go ahead and go back and dry brush them. But again, it's your preference. You could paint them all together. I just like to use the already painted ones because, I mean, let's be truthful, friends, it's faster. But if you don't want to do that and you want to change it or you want it to be your colors, definitely paint your beads. So I'm using some wire and I'm just going to go ahead and attach those pieces back together. Then we're going to use some ribbon and we're going to just wrap our ribbon around the ears. I'm wrapping it really, really tightly and close together so you get kind of the look of that we had going with our yarn, but it's shinier and prettier because it's a ribbon. So we're going to wrap all the way around both ears and in the middle part that we covered with our wire. I got this ribbon at Hobby Lobby. It's kind of a Pioneer Woman knockoff. I did some Pioneer Woman projects like dupes with it last year. I just love Pioneer Woman anyway, so this ribbon is definitely my style. But here comes in where I think I need to dry brush the beads because the yellow is too bright for my ribbon. But I'm going to go ahead and take another section of the ribbon, wrap it around the middle to cover our twine, and then we're going to glue it in between the bunny's ears. This project is pretty simple. I love how this turned out. It's definitely unique with lots of different textures, but let me know what you guys think about this project.
Pick up the pieces, hey, you'll be alright. I can feel the sun and how the wind makes way across the fields.
Well, friends, that is the end of the video. Thank you for sticking around with me this far. If you want to keep crafting with me, watch this video next or go down to my description box and check out the playlist for lots of spring inspiration. And as always, wherever you are in your journey is a perfect place to start. And I will see you in my next video. Bye, friends.